Hello, today is November 26th, and I'm going to be creating a basic HTML website using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's going to be a login form that sends the login data to the console rather than a SQLite database, since it will be easier for this demonstration. So starting off, I just have a very basic setup here with my open and close head, open and close body, my doc type declaration, and the closing HTML tag. However, I also want to define my character set as UTF-8, which I can do like this. And I also want to create a title. I also want that in the head, not outside of it. I can also create my title, and this is going to be the login form. So if I refresh my page, we have login form there at the top. Next, what I want to do is create a header that is going to tell users what they're doing on the site. And this can be done using the header tag as so. Close it off. And this is going to be the login form page. As you can see, on a refresh, we now have the login forum page. Now we're going to create our forum, which I want to have styling on it. So I'm going to use a div tag and close it off, open it up, and put the forum inside of it, like this. The form also needs an ID so that we can show aspects of it in the console. I'm going to give it the form ID of login form, and then inside of it we need labels, and we also need inputs. So I'm going to make a few of those. We have a username, we have a password, so I'm going to copy and paste, and just knowing what it's going to look like, I'm going to put a break in between. This one is enter username, enter password. We should see these two here. Next, what we want to do is on our input, it is the type, and it's going to be a username, and this input type is a password. And this is important because when we refresh, when we type into the username, we can visually see it. However, with the password type, it's being hidden. Now what we need to do is give each one a unique identifier. So this is going to be the username label, while this one is going to be the actual username input. As so, and we're going to do the same here. So this is going to be the ID is equal to the username, or the password label, while this ID is going to be the password input. Refresh the page, there shouldn't be a clear difference, but this will be useful for when we're trying to use the console log. Login form page, yep. And just for the sake of the demonstration, I'm going to create a input. It's going to have an ID is equal to the terms of service, and it's going to be a type equal to checkbox. Alright, close it off. Alright, so now we have our checkbox. We want it to be on its own line. We also need to label it so that users know what that checkbox is for. So we can create a label tag and close it. And the label is terms of service agreement. Give an ID, since it needs its own unique identifier, and it's going to be the terms label. Now, when we refresh the page, terms of service agreement can be either on or off. Now we need to create a way for users to actually submit their data. So we're going to have another label and input, except for this time it's going to be a submission button. Label and input, close it as well. This label here is going to be, I guess it doesn't need a label actually, it can just be an input with the type of submit. And it can have the value set to login and put it on its own new line without CSS using the break. Now we have the login button here. Alright, what do I want to do next? Submit, value, login, needs an ID. The ID is going to be the login button. Oops. Login button. The name is equal to login. I don't know exactly why it's doing that. Oh, that's why. Okay. There we go. Name is equal to login. Type is submit. Value is login. And the ID is set to login button. Next, I can use some CSS styling to make the site look a little nicer, which I can do in the head. First, I need to create my style tags and close it off. And the first thing that I want to do is I want to change my body. Body. I can't type all of a sudden. Body. Open it up. And inside of it, what I want to do is text align, and I want it to be centered on the page. I also want to do the same thing with H1. So I can just comma separate, and it should put it all in the middle of the page. However, it still doesn't look very nice. So what I can do is add let me see. I think I could add padding on the top. Just padding. I want it to be 20 pixels. Let's see what that does. Okay, it didn't separate these. So I think it needs to be in the form, actually. So if I go form, add padding here of 20 pixels, I guess. I feel like I'm getting closer to what I want here. Yeah, I just need more padding. Okay, it's creating padding between the header and the form. I guess the easiest way was just to use a few more breaks. I know it's probably not the best thing to do, but we'll get the outcome that I want. Yep, Now what I want to do is pretty it up a little more. So on the body, I can change the background color, and in this one I want a light blue. Just like that, we have a light blue background. However, to still pretty it up just a little more, what I can do is actually add separate, I believe. I can do separate formatting to H1 and give it a background color white. And I believe since it's coming after this one, it should do what I want. See? Next, what I want to do is do the same thing to the form. Ground color, I want this to be white as well. But that still doesn't look very nice. But what I can do to make that look nicer, at least with the forum first, look at my notes. Yes, I can change the width, and I can also change the height. And I want it to be, I'm going to start off with 100 pixels wide, and also 100 pixels tall. Whoa, that was not, oh, okay, I see. It's because it's not big enough to hold it all, so I'll do 200 for each. Let's see how that looks. Okay, it looks better, however it's not being centered anymore. I think it's because of this here, so I'm just going to take it out. Might as well not have them together at this point. Which means I need to add an alignment center. Align, center. Okay, I don't need that. Let me see. It's not going to be text align, it's just going to be the margin. Should be centered. There we go. Looks a little better, but it still doesn't look as nice as it could. So what I'm going to do is round the edges out, which I can do with the border radius. And to start, I'll use 10 pixels and round out those edges just to clean it up a little bit. And I also want this to be cut off. Add a little bit more space in between the login form page, header, and the actual input so that I can put my logo in. The easiest way to do that would probably just be grabbing these breaks. Just throwing them in there. Yep. Okay. Now what I can do is use a similar width and height and apply it to H1 like this, and that should do that. We're gonna have to do the same thing with the border radius. I want it to be 20 pixels. And I want the margin to be auto so it is recentered. Way too tall and not wide enough, but I can change that easily by making it 50 pixels tall. Maybe a little taller, maybe like 75. 75 tall. Perfect. And then just expand it. I want it twice as long. Boom. Now I can add in my logo. So here in the body, I can include an image. And the source is going to be from my local machine. And what did I call them? Logo. Logo.png. And now when I refresh the page, we should get our guy in here. but as you can see, it pushed everything down, which we don't want. So we can go and give this an ID, and this is our logo, which means that we can apply CSS styling to it. And the position needs to be absolute, so it doesn't affect the position of other things. You can use top, and right, or left. I'm going to use right in this example. Refresh, and now it's off to the right and it's not pushing around these here. However, I want to change the size, so we can do width and height to change the size of it. I'm going to start off with 200 pixels and see how that looks. Nice and small. Create more space. I need it to come down and to the left. So I'm going to move it from the top 10 pixels, maybe about 50 pixels instead. And now I just need to move it over. I'm just gonna guess and say it's around 800 pixels. Okay, maybe about 950? 950 pixels perhaps? Also bump it up a little more, about 40 instead of 50. It needs to come a little to the right. I'll do 925. Raise it up a little more, like 35 for the top. And now it's centered. It's clipping a little bit. And I think the easiest solution is to change the H1 height to 70 pixels instead of 75. Oh, when I zoom, it moves stuff around, which I could fix in a longer demonstration, but I'm already 17 minutes in, so I may not be able to get everything that I wanted to do in this. Anyway, I'm going to include my background image rather than the basic blue background, and our image is image1. So we can grab our image. Actually, we can change the background for the body to be the image. So background, the URL is image1.png, since it's using a relative path, and added a background. We have a decent login form page. I would like to show login information in the console, but it's already 20 minutes long, so I'm going to end it here.